really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Are you stuck with your kart racing? Not sure the ideal kart setup? Or going to a track for the first time? Well, Kart Class has the answers for you. Our online portal has a wealth of experience and knowledge to help your kart racing. From kart setup advice to track guides that are targeted specifically to your circuit, or the driver coaching aspect with mindset, racecraft and driving techniques. If you want to take your karting to the next level, visit us at kartclass.com.
2026 Cup Kart South Series, February 20th through 22nd at Finish Line Karting. March 20th through 22nd at Daytona International Speedway. April 24th through 26th at Music City Karting. And May 29th through 31st at Bushnell Motorsports Park.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go, come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Pedico, it's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Pedico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and zero sugar? Pedicazo! Try Pedico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy, because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Synokco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
PSL Karting, the official leader of the Red Army and Burrell Arts North American distributor and official factory race team, housing a number of top names and top-level data analysis and driver coaching from cadet to full-size racing action across the United States and Canada. If you want to race or check out any online parts that you may need for your Burrell Art chassis, check us out online at pslkarting.com.
Champions aren't just born on the kart track. At SimShop, we deliver professional-grade simulators with the best performance-to-price ratio in the industry. Founded by racers who understand what you need, our SimMagic and Moza equipment is powerful enough for the pros, yet affordable for everyone. With unmatched customer support and a thriving community, we're your racing partner. Visit simshop.com today.
IAMI USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
Good morning and welcome to a wet and a bit cold start to what will be a very hot Saturday for the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale weekend. Myself, Xander Clemens, alongside Caleb Vieska, David Land, and Cameron Reed down on pit lane as qualifying gets underway for Speedsportz Racing Park. Dry weather all week long, Caleb. We had rain at the Rotax Winter Trophies opening weekend, but for anyone that was not there or was ultimately hoping to have an IAMI engine test session in the wet, this is the only one that they've really had that. That was warm-ups that you just finished watching, and now straight into qualifying with KA Junior. So a huge curveball thrown at the field after all of Thursday and Friday were in dry conditions.
Yeah, I mean, again, very wet. Not very wet. We are expecting to get a little bit more rain later on throughout the day, but this is a little bit better than what we have seen right in the last couple weeks. It's not cold. We're not in the 30s. We're not in the 40s. It is a bit humid, and it's currently 66 degrees outside right now. So this is a lot better. Yeah, it's, you know, still Houston, Texas, the rain. We're close to Galveston here, and humidity, etc. It was hot yesterday. Today, the little bit of rain, but I'd prefer this all day over 40 degrees in rain and having these drivers out there, and again, having our crew out there as well, right? So this is, again, something different to see, and now it's mixed conditions. Not only that here in qualifying, but it looks like black and orange for, I think, Jaramillo there, in Savage.
Yeah, Alexander Savage on the U-Race X3. Early exit for him, not sure what the meatball could be. Could have been something as simple as a a transponder not registering across the line. Obviously, though, that wasn't the case. He went to third on the out lap, so something amiss for him. But in the back and forth, to go from probably a practice set of wet tires back over to your first set for the weekend, maybe a bolt got left loose or something, whether it was the bumper or the chain guard, if you see those come off. Any piece of equipment that comes off during a session, even a GoPro camera, will trigger a DQ, or if caught mid-session, will bring the meat ball flag out. So he'll slowly drop down the leaderboard. Kai Park has now gone to the top on the TKG Bureau Art. Lucas Dreibel's second. Easton Cox, talk about last month as kind of a coming out weekend for him. Big time win at the opening weekend of the Skusa Winter Series. He had to get up front, qualify up front from the slow group, and now he's in the slow group again after a not so great Friday, and this is what can happen in it. Contact there, you were seeing it punched in on one of the Bennett machines that had a pushed in front bumper. That was the 813. He goes off, and equally two karts collide right in front of him.
Yeah, Theo Mitchell was the one involved in the MSO Racing CRG. And that there is Oscar Gus Wonderlay as well in the Bennett machine, the 813 with a pushback to start things off. So not a good start for a couple, and again, a little bit of damage there to the front of Easton Cox's, but you gotta assume, right, that's from earlier sessions on the weekend. Nonetheless, so Theo Mitchell was one of the ones that was involved in 3.5 minutes to go. And again, this track is only going to get faster lap by lap here, Xander, right? The dry line, if you will, going to start to form. And you can also tell, right, we're not fully wet, or else you'd see a big puddle over in turn number 1, where usually the majority of standing water sits. It's one of the High Five machines for High Five Racing Texas goes off as well. So just tiptoeing around at the moment for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, you're at that point, like you said, in transition, Caleb, where the track is getting faster. You start to get more confidence, and then you quickly get humbled once you do go over the limit. You see here Easton Cox starting to try and go back to the inside in turn number 6, and even going a bit low in turn 7, and then just quickly going into a 4-wheel slide. That dry line hasn't materialized yet at all, and right there is a great talking point for this weekend that is new, Caleb, the inside of turns 8 and 9.
Yeah, so again, if you look back to round 1 and 2, right, some of the biggest stories that we've seen, and especially throughout the races that we've had here at Speedsportz Racing Park, drivers will take advantage kind of that cut through, try and cut the track a little bit shorter, make moves through there. We saw it in this class, specifically in K Junior and in X30 Junior as well. So now drivers cannot put all 4 tires across the red paint there, as the checker flag will fly for this group. And Goulet currently fastest with a 108.082, but like you mentioned, Xander, again, that red paint, if drivers do put 4 tires across that red paint, their fastest lap will be deleted, and penalties will be assessed as well once we get into racing action later on today.
And that announcement came out at the beginning of the first day of, first day of official on-track activity. Thursday and Wednesday, both unofficial testing. A lot of teams and drivers had already started working on what we witnessed and learned over the course of the race days from rounds 1 and 2, and a bit at the Winter Trophy for Rotax as well, trying to master getting up and over that inside curbing, shortening the line, tightening the corner. It was a near 2 to 3/10 swing if you hit it right. Spent all week working on that. Then once we got to official activity, the official said that's enough. We're going to make that off limits. No 4 tires can go over the red paint, or at least over onto the curbing. 2 tires on the red and 2 tires on the curbing. If you get into the air with all 4 wheels up and off the black stuff, you will get a cut course penalty, which is a severe penalty on the Skusa penalty matrix. So everyone then quickly had to go back to how they were originally approaching the circuit at rounds 1 and 2. And most of them didn't really get to make adjustments, it felt like, until after the drivers' meeting with the final 2 rounds of practice. But again, all of that's still in the dry, none of that transferring here into the wet. And the benchmark set by Christopher Goulet, a 68.082 is the fast group, all in one big swarm behind Nico Katowski right now, heads into the buckle for the first time.
Yeah, first time around, again, especially kind of looking at what we have so far, right? Travis Pettit in a really good position, right? Leading this group, Nico Orbezo's right behind him. But you just can't really afford to be around too many other drivers, especially in conditions like this, right? Where it's kind of so line-based, so momentum-based as well. You really cannot afford, especially in a qualifying session, to trip up over another driver or one of your competitors here.
So even that first lap for Katowski was quick enough to go faster than the slow group. This is where a bit of experience also plays in. We've seen plenty of times drivers in the slow group punch really well up into the fast group in the overall. But right now, the wet conditions, this kind of condition, nothing yet we've seen. We've seen either monsoon rain or we've seen light rain, but we have not seen kind of an intermediate level track. That's what we've got right now, but that's just what we're seeing. David Land down on pit lane. What are you seeing out there in the mix of it all?
Well, that's exactly right, Xander. You're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. It's damp right now, and one of the things, it's not actively raining right now, which is going to really throw quite a curveball into these drivers and teams as they decide what tires they're going to go on. I would say this, I mean, there's the expectation right now is that this track's going to stay damp for quite a while, if not the entire day. So I wouldn't expect, at least very early on here, that we'll see any kind of a move to slick tires. You got to also remember that there's a lot of humidity in the air. It's going to be tough to evaporate water off of this surface, and so I think we're going to be dealing with damp conditions for the majority of the day, whether it's actively raining or not.
And I think Dave's right. I mean, Saturday, it unfortunately didn't follow the trend, or today did not follow the trend of every other chance of rain that we've had. When you look at across the board the days for the Skusa Winter Series opening weekend, it looked originally cold. It stayed cold, but we had a lot of chances of rain, and that kind of faded off. And this week, one day in particular, today, that precipitation chance never went away, and I think we're just going to see another cell probably headed our way around 10 a.m. So checkers in the air. Nathan Golseth is who we're following. Nico Katowski setting the line, and it is a huge line that nobody, I think, is going to be able to best. Travis Pettit gets close there, 7/10 off. The final batch coming across the loop. Here's Tyrone Kemper Jr. Big run for him last month. He's way down the board, 16th. Huge qualifying session and statement for Nico Katowski, Caleb, as the opening class gets their grid set for the pre-final. Nearly 8/10 clear on your field.
Yeah, what a lap there at Nico Katowski. And again, second year for the 892 in the junior ranks here in K100 Junior. Doing double duty this weekend. So the Trinity Karting Group, I'm sure, going to be happy about Katowski's performance here. And again, just getting comfortable week by week, race weekend by race weekend. Up at the front of the field, the 892 going to be the one to look out for here in the rainy conditions, Xander.
So it's a good start for Nico over the pack, and the delta through the field's pretty massive. You expect that in the rain for drivers that are able to figure it out and teams that hit the setup right. This was, again, a drying racetrack, still definitely with more gear than what you would run in the dry, so less top-end speed, but hitting that marker right, getting the perfect balance of grip, or not, is why you're seeing such a huge gap in the times down the field. Last month's surprise winner, Easton Cox, just barely in the top half, in the top 20. A number of drivers even more than 3 seconds off the pace that have all shown promise at the front of the field. But 36K juniors are locked and loaded for their pre-final later today. We've got KA Senior down on the grid, ready to roll when we come back from a wet and wild batch of qualifying sessions. You won't want to miss anything because you take your eyes off it, and your driver may not be on the racetrack at that time. We'll be right back.
So in motorsport, every detail matters, but we need to try to avoid using expensive and fragile sensors. So I'm gonna show you how we do it. So this is a comparison between the sensor, pink curve, and the accelerometer in blue. So we can read how hard the driver is applying the brake and how easy he's modulating his release in order to understand how the driver's braking. The sensor costs hundreds of dollars and the accelerometer is already in your dash, so you don't need to buy anything.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, you can sign up on our website right now. Enjoy the online course today.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than Fitbit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, Fitbit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out Fitbit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Pedico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Pedico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Pedico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy, because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Synokco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
KA Senior, first of 2 groups released onto the circuit. Aiden Rudolph, Landon Skinner, Max Weiland. That could be your podium tomorrow, Caleb. They are the first 3 below the cut line following Friday practice yesterday. So they're the first 3 leading the field out in the slow group. quali session. Spoke to Aiden a little bit. I know you know him well, being a Houston native yourself. He was struggling at his home racetrack quite a bit early in the week, up until throwing the kitchen sink at that CRG machine overnight Thursday. They've said they found a little more speed, but obviously still ended up just in the lower half of the field. He's got some work to do for someone who you'd probably have expected to see a lot of stopwatches pointed at over the course of this week.
Yeah, correct. And you got to think, right? We really haven't seen him in the K100 senior category outside of the Texas Sprint Racing Series last year, right? It's kind of shifted that driving style over to what's a shifter base, right? Of what he took part of all last year. And speaking of you and Jeffrey over with Kart CRG USA, he said Aiden was just driving too deep into the corners. And again, out of the corners, just no lever to pull, no extra gear to get him out. So that was the biggest adjustment that the team was saying that Rudolph had to make throughout the weekend. It was just he was overcharging the speed into the corners. Landon Skinner, another driver that we talked about, right, that we're used to seeing here at the Texas Racing Series, and these two drivers were both in the top 10 at the end of the first warm-up session today in the rain, in the colder conditions. So two drivers that I've seen drive here, I think more often than not in rain racing action, and two drivers I think to keep an eye on here as this qualifying session gets underway.
Yeah, the local knowledge of some of the races here. The opener for the Texas Sprint Series last season was a monsoon weekend. Cold, wet, rainy, very similar to what we had at the Rotax Winter Trophy opening weekend. Not that cold, but close to it. So for Landon Skinner and Aiden Rudolph, they should have a good bit of an idea of how to get around this place. But again, you see them both not necessarily running the outside line, because we're at that point of the transition period going from wet to dry that the inside groove, or at least just making the lane shorter and using the curb to rotate the go-kart, might be a little bit better compared to if it were a whole lot more wet out there at the outside groove, like what Matt Cagle is running in the buckle would be preferred. Let's see what the lap time looks like this time around for Landon Skinner. You can see Aiden as well starting to try and adjust and mirror what Landon's doing in that Norberg Karting Academy GFC, the blue and white livery. Landon Skinner as well, another driver who has spent quite a few years at the forefront of the Texas Sprint Series field. He's made a handful of national level starts. When he has here at Speedsportz, he's performed. He's run in the top 5 and top 10 in both of his appearances over the last couple of years at this specific racetrack when the Touring Series have arrived. Last year wasn't as good as maybe his opening weekend in it, his rookie season when the U.S. Pro Kart Series was here. But this kid is wicked fast and looking for maybe a performance that can catapult him to more big events as the year drags on, because I know for him and his family, that schedule is always fluctuating, but unfortunately not too busy.
Well, there was nothing on the schedule for Landon Skinner this year. He was not planning on racing, not planning on making even one start, whether it was Texas Sprint Racing Series or let alone a national event. And last year, getting that first taste of a victory kind of took the winter to rethink and then talked to Tim Lowball with Trackside Karting Services, and they wanted to give it a shot, another shot here this year in 2026. So this is his first start of the year after wanting to hang it up, wanting to hang up the helmet, checkered flag in the air. Skinner with a good way to start off his return. Matthew Cagle across the line, only 5th. Max Weiland, the rookie, to 4th, and he's getting beat by Williams there in 4th. But again, Landon Skinner, you said it right, Nathan Rudolph, two drivers at the top of the timing charts, 106.271. The only thing I think that isn't going to be in their favor is the track evolution for that fast group, and they're all led by Caleb Gaffera.
Yeah, that's what's really going to hurt them, right? That's what makes Friday happy hour such a crucial session. In dry conditions, it's because you want to be around all the rest of the fast drivers. But in the wet, especially when the rain is not coming down at all or very little like it is right now, that track is going to pick up half a second to a second session by session. You see again the KA juniors were in the 108s at first, then down to the 107s. The seniors already at a low 106. And I would have to imagine the pull time is going to come from this fast group here, maybe from this driver, Santiago Duran, and the Orsilon Racing Tony Kart, maybe from the likes of Alexander Vanchev and Caleb Gaffera, who were the fastest two from happy hour. But I think it's going to be in the low 105s. It might clear Landon Skinner's time by more than a second. So if he can just hang on to a top 15 when the dust settles from this fast group, I think that would be ideal. But here they go, fast group released onto the racetrack for Orsilon Racing KA Senior. The other half of the near 40 kart draw grid. for the finale of the Superkarts USA Winter Series now taken to the circuit. And again, like you said, we didn't have heavy rain overnight. We just had a good enough batch as we were setting up this morning and a little bit in the early hours of the morning to put us onto the wet tires. But there is far from many puddles still left on the racetrack, and we're, I don't think, that far away from starting to see light patches begin to form and that dry line materialize. But it's not there yet. I mean, you can still see a dark surface. It's just the fact that there doesn't seem to be a lot of standing water that we're already quickly going down to the inside of a lot of these corners. Not all of them. Looks like the last turn and the buckle right here seem to still be about center track as the ideal line. You see Caleb here, he's gonna have to basically throw a slide job and hope it sticks on Juan Jose Paramo, and it's not gonna work. They're gonna race side by side and lose some touch to the two in front of them, like Donovan Mania up there on the Speed Concepts entry. And then again, the other hard part about the rain racing is making those kinds of passes, because when everyone's running the top side, you're having to go to the shorter lane, the lower grip patch on the inside of the racetrack, slide in front of them and hopefully block them just enough they don't cross you up, as we saw Gafera have happen to him. And then in a qualifying session that's only 4 minutes long, you're only going to get 3 laps probably at speed. You don't have a lap to burn or even half a lap to make passes and still have a decent lap time in. The window to perform is very, very narrow.
Yeah, very narrow, and like you mentioned, right, there's a lot of different things that also work here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the tracks that I've seen multiple different rain lines throughout multiple different corners kind of being taken, right? I don't think I've seen that maybe at many other tracks, and this track also, you know, to add to that, races really well in the rain. So nonetheless, I mean, this, you'll see a lot of different drivers take multiple different lines, right? We talked center track, high track, we talked going down low to the curb, we talked about turn 6, the buckle. This right here, right? You see a lot of that throughout the weekend of good on the entry, not as good on the exit, but still not that bad on the straightaway. So it's just kind of give and take, really.
I think the one good part about having the track in this kind of condition to start the day too, this is really widening the groove over the course of the last few weekends that we've witnessed here, laying down a Vinco rubber for basically 7 weeks ongoing between testing on the off weekends and racing over 4 weekends in total. That the marbling on and off track, on and off line has been tremendous. And so now going high, going low, going to the middle of the racetrack, that all of a sudden changes up the dynamic quite a bit, where you have 3, maybe 4 karts wide of cleared out path. All the dirt and dust and debris that maybe ends up only a lane and a half off the groove now ends up pushed way to the far edge of the racetrack.
Yeah, there at the bottom of your screen, you're having a look at Alexander Vanchev, one of the drivers that, again, had a great pace in the rain earlier on today in the warm-up session. So we'll see what Vanchev can do as he's getting ready to cross the line. On the top of your screen, Connor Ferris just announced a new partnership with Maryland. Dallas Dunlap slowing. Vanchev across the line, only 7th. Gassiet Lee up to 2nd on the Bennick. So we're getting close to the end here. Just either a lap or 2. I think maybe only a lap here, Xander, left in this, but it's going to be close. Bonilla down in 9th. Zumbalis up to 8th. Gafera not even just on the edge of the top 10 and 10th. So a lot of drivers just looking for a little bit more, and Landon Skinner, through it all, holds on by 0.08 of a second.
Yeah, that's great to be hanging on this long, still at the top of the pylon. He's not out of the woods yet, though. Again, they're working on their way around on what we believe to be the last lap. Alexander Vanchev leading the pack, Chase Gassiet Lee, Sebastian Garzone going to the final couple turns here. This will be the run to the line. First batch of the group coming to checkers. Vanchev right now down in 7th. He needs a full half second to put himself in the conversation for pole. Can he go better than a 106.2? At the line, he'll go up into the top 5. He'll get close. Can anyone further back find speed? Here's John Burke. Further away, Marcelo Tortano, Sebastian Garzone. Anything from them? Everyone further back is not improving at all. Landon Skinner from the slow group with the final 2 across the line. Dallas Dunlap and Connor Ferris is going to hold it. Forget track evolution and the downside of having to go out first. Landon Skinner and the Norberg Academy GFC is your pole award winner, provisionally in KA Senior. How about that? Chase Gassiet Lee, a very youthful top 4 with Sebastian Garzone and Alexander Vanchev. Joey Moss on the Iron Rock Motorsports Tony Kart, name we haven't seen in quite a bit. P5, Aiden Rudolph, Derek Wargo, Josh Samvalis, Caleb Gaffera, and Donovan Bonilla, your top 10.
A lot of youngsters, a lot of rookies in that top 10 to get themselves kind of in the conversation. But Landon Skinner, how about that for the Norbert Karting Academy? Again, not even planning to race this weekend, not even planning to race at all in 2026. Starts the year off with a bang on pole in KA Senior.
Times are tightening, though. That means the track is getting faster, but we are getting reports that the liquid sunshine, although there hasn't been much sunshine so far today, are picking back up. We expected this as we got closer to 10 a.m. local time. So just as the track picks up speed, is it going to slick off again and become a slide fest through the pre-finals, or are we tracking towards dry conditions? That's the question right now with 2 classes completed. KA Senior all done and dusted. Landon Skinner and Chase Gassey at Lee getting ready to line on the front row for that pre-final 40 deep in that class, of course. Micro Swift, X30 Junior, the next 2 up, 3rd and 4th in the lineup, and all the way to the bottom of the run order with Pro Shifter. But class number 2, KA Senior, Landon Skinner on pole. David?
Landon, out of the slow group, you hang on. I mean, talk about that. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was nice. I really didn't think we were going to get it done there, but we got it done in the end, and it's good.
Kind of talk to me a little bit about the track conditions. It doesn't seem like it's improving all that much. At least the fast group didn't go any faster than you. Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, first lap, I was really surprised. The track slowed down a lot. It's starting to dry up a lot, get greasy. So I was really surprised when the second group didn't really go as fast.
As this day goes on, you mentioned the track getting greasy. Kind of describe what that's going to do for these competitors that are about to go out.
Yeah, I think it's just going to get trickier and trickier, and then you're going to see that advance where you're going to dries and slicks, you know. So it's all about the game, and we'll see what happens.
Can you hold this field off when we go racing here in a couple of minutes?
We're going to find out.
All right, that's what we call in the business a teaser. Landon Skinner will be on the pole.
And just like that, Landon Skinner on pole, and we're ready to crown our next pole award winner. Micro Swift onto the racetrack as the sessions continue here from Speedsportz Racing Park. First group of 2. Good to see many returning faces from the opening round. We were learning quite a few names. In fact, 28 deep. I think it might actually be a slight improvement of the turnout that we had from the first weekend in the low 20s. The beginning of the Superkarts USA National Ladder. And of course, at this point in the year, with so many kids starting their mini Swift journey and advancing up, it's allowed an opening for new names towards the front end of the grid and into the spotlight, thrust right there. And one of those names is the one that went straight to the top off the rip, Wiley Lee, one of the youngest in the class. Although we've got problems already, the 291. Hayden Sampson on the Pinnacle Racing Development TV kart, stuck and beached on the edge of the racetrack, but big time lap to set the bar initially for 7 years young Wiley Lee on the Bennick. Following here, these two going back and forth, trading it. That's the 205 of Romeo Ferrante de Ferral and the 222 of Rodolfo Garza. A great display of what we see so often from turn 6 all the way through turn number 9, switching back and forth, crossing lanes, and lending itself to some really, really good racing. Got to sit down with Alan Rudolph earlier in this week and talk about, you know, so many points of pride he has of this circuit and of this facility, getting to host so many major events over the last few years, and in his design of the pro track here, the track that we have been racing on in its same configuration for all 4 events. How some of the areas where he thought might have raced really good haven't had as much passing, but so many other areas that he didn't expect to see as much raceability have lended themselves to being phenomenal for putting on battles and giving us a whole lot to talk about. Unfortunately, again, with the wet conditions, it's catching a lot of these youngsters out. That's another pair. Looked to be Franco Schiavo, I think, in the 246. The other one, the 208 machine.
Smith, Oliver Smith, who was currently running, well, he's down in 11th, was up in 10th just a minute ago. Yeah, but like you said, right, Alan Rudolph kind of was also one of the guys that designed the tracks over at Superkarts USA for the Super Nationals for quite some time, for a couple of years as well, and designed this track as well. Nonetheless, great racing so far, and one of the best years for Speedsportz Racing Park, hosting as many national events as they have. As we look at a couple of the youngsters, a couple of the rookies racing in the Microsoft class. JJ DeShong there in the 299. Vettel Baker right behind him in the 209. Relatively moving up from the Kid Kart ranks last year. Saw him a whole lot here in the state of Texas. Checkered flag getting ready to fly for a couple. Garza going to be the first one to get it. Down in 9th for Rodolfo. Checkered flag flies. And still Wiley Lee, who you talked about, the youngest ever winner in Rotax competition in the Microsoft class. And that was when he crossed the line, and I believe a post-race penalty kind of put him further down in the order, but nonetheless, Wiley Lee holding on in the 218, a 111.702. Sebastian Kim's right behind him in the 220. It's going to be close here as we get closer and closer to this final lap for this last group. There's DeShong, and there's Vettel Baker.
Yeah, there's a look at Wiley Lee headed to the last couple of turns right now. He'll see if he can go any bit better on the final lap. He's only got a little bit over Sebastian Kim. The checkers out from Aaron Likens on the front straightaway. One of the last weekends we'll get to see Aaron in action waving the sticks here, the official flagman for the NTT IndyCar Series, longtime flagman for Superkarts USA. Never misses the Superkarts USA Super Nationals, but that doesn't mean that he's going to try and still also find a way to fit every gap he can in his schedule to put on the performance for us down on the front stretch. And he's here this week for the Winter Series. Across the line for Wiley, that last lap was an improvement. He got down to a 111.43 and he needed it. Romeo Ferrante de Amaral was able to get a little bit closer to him. Not all the kids on circuit were able to go the full distance of 4 laps. Only the first couple were able to get around fast enough to get it by the end of the session. So that again bodes well for the drivers that finished well in Friday happy hour. Like the driver on your screen there, the 217 of Tristan Francisco and the all-chrome Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro Kart, fastest from Friday practice, ready to lead your field off as he looks towards the grid for the command. 28 deep. Here's the other half of them all rolling out on the racetrack.
Oh, here we go, that second half. Gonna hit the track now as we're working our way through into the SS Tristan Francisco. Talked a bit about him a couple weeks ago when he was running inside of the top 3, looking for podiums at the opening weekend of the Skusa Winter Series. The 2025 Canadian National Champion, looking to become a first-time U.S. champion here stateside as he looks to challenge Jack Katowski this weekend for the championship. Trey Sanders, another one of those young drivers, only 7 years old. The 231 out of California. And also a good number of Bennicks that find themselves in this field. Shep Sullivan, the last one to work his way out onto the track.
Jack Katowski had everybody covered. He's had a phenomenal opening half of his year, opening quarter. And to close it out with a first career Micro Swift Skusa Championship, he's gearing up for what could be a very dominant 2026 season. But the one thing that we have learned and that most know about the youngest drivers is their progression is very quick, and it wouldn't take long for some of the rest of the drivers in the field to progress to the point and start to bring the challenge truthfully to him. Tristan Francisco was the best of the rest at the opening weekend. He had learned quite a bit, especially over the practice days in the dry conditions, to be able to be as fast, if not better, than Jack Katowski, who leads the championship. Behind him there, one off, is that Santana?
Yeah,
Max Santana with a big moment, and he's going to bring a ton of leaves onto the track.
Yeah, I think him and Trey Sanders just side by side there on the exit of turn number 4 as one goes around the 298. They're around in front of the field in turn number 6. We'll see if he's able to get back on. We'll identify that driver here momentarily, but nonetheless, the rest of the field, Dusty Strayer leading this second group here with some Bennicks just right behind him. The infield section, there's Wyatt White right there as Santana rejoins in the 219, as well as Rodriguez, who's currently 14th at the end of that opening lap. We'll see what they do here on lap number 2. A lot of battling here. Santana looking to make up a little bit more track position, get himself with better footing to start lap number 3. Francisco up to second. Katowski has him cleared, though, by 0.7 of a second here, Xander.
That's big. Jack Katowski still with plenty of time left in this fast group session to go at least one more, if not get all the way to the 4th lap. This group here will kind of be right around the area I would guess that the timer may catch them out. So both Francisco and Katowski should be able to go for another, I think, based on how that first group went. And you can see Jack taking some lessons from the K senior drivers, going to the inside of turn 7, inside of turn number 6, inside it looked like again here at turns 8 and 9. This middle group doing a bit of a wide arc in, a late apex, but they're still getting, for the most part, down low at 8. A little wide in 9 to carry the momentum up, and there is still some standing water on the inside. And as mentioned earlier, the skies are far from clearing out. So if the mist continues, that line may stay stagnant. If anything, start pushing its way back to the outer groove again. And while we may clear out by the afternoon, it's going to lead to what should be a very wide and racy surface versus a full day in dry conditions where you're going to have dust and debris just a hair off the marks you're trying to aim for. I mean, you can see here the comparison from weeks ago in the S's. Everyone is all over the place. Every time a kart goes over, it's like a plow or a snow plow even, just clearing a path. And that's why even when they go wide there, all the way to the edge of the curb, they're not totally out of shape. But this lap now, final one, looked like that group was going to get another shot at it. Jack Katowski putting it on him, though. That last lap at a 1:10.4 was more than a half second clearer than what anyone else could put up, and he's still tracking to go even better. Look at his hands here, still, for the most part, staying front and center. Little corrections through the corner. He is digging, trying to put a stamp on this qualifying effort.
Yeah, Francisco also, again, the gap was at 0.7. It's now at half a second. We'll see if Francisco can get himself even that little bit closer to the lap time that Katowski's looking to set. And again, watched older brother Nico do it earlier on today. Can Jack Katowski do it out of the boot onto the front stretch, Xander?
Here we go, checkers in the air from Aaron. That'll complete the session as they cross the line. Katowski will go a little better. Francisco will as well. It'll keep it right at a half second. Max Santana next up, third for him. Big lap out of Andres Marcelo Pena. He'll jump to 6th. Leapfrogging a couple. And the last few that got in before the checkers flew, we'll see not much of a change in position. So it's deja vu to January. Jack Katowski, your fastest in Micro Swift. Qualifying, Tristan Francisco second, about a half second back. Max Santana only a 1/10.5 off the likes of Tristan Francisco. So closing in on the top 2 contenders in the field, but realistically closing in on second. Katowski still has them covered. Enzo Botero, Liam Compitiello rounding your top 5. And down the board we go. 28 Micro Swift drivers all completing the qualifying session. And we'll see them again later this morning when they go back out for the pre-finals. But RPG X30 Jr. ready to go. Mechanics lined on the fence, and the nerves of setting the tone for your race weekend begins with them when we return.
We all know that drivers, they learn faster when it's visually shown to them side by side what's the difference, right? So if the Smarty can, every time we put on the data, we're able to see the drivers side by side on the track. So here, for example, you can see that Diego is taking a curb and our other driver's not. You see that one driver's oversteering and the other driver's pretty much straight coming out of the corner. By showing this to them, they're able to absorb faster. And you can even play the videos simultaneously so they can see how they're performing through the track.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, you can sign up on our website right now. Enjoy the online course today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Hey guys, I'm Chris G. I'm Kart Chaser's driver fitness coach, and today I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to strengthen your shoulders for more endurance and better stability in the kart. Here we go. Okay, so exercise number 1 is the front rope pull-through cable raises. Okay, now, this is the upright cable row. What you are doing here is you're picking a straight bar, as you see, and we're working the side areas of our shoulders, the medial. Exercise number 3, the dumbbell shrugs. As you guys can tell, I like to pause at the top before releasing. It's great for your strength, for that wheel stability. It's great for those shoulders and that upper back area. Chris G coaching, race-ready training that carries into real life. That's what we do here. See you on the next one.
Welcome back to Speedsportz. X30 Junior underway with the first of the 2 groups here for qualifying. And as we watch them work their way to the backstretch, first driver out, Mason Berry in the number 720, Team GWR Gillard. Marco Samet, another driver as well, who has had some podium performances and some wins already in his junior career, but in the slow group. So will we see the slow group be able to beat out the fast group as we saw in K Senior? We obviously didn't see that in Micro Swift, but that's a bit more to be expected. You have a much wider range of experience, and by the time the drivers are up in the junior ranks as they are here. So a couple of big names in the mix of the X30 Junior first group. Here's a close look at Maxwell Macha for Parolin, one of the junior rookies moving up this year. He had a great run last week at Orlando Kart Center for the Florida Winter Tour second stop. He didn't make a whole lot of noise here for the Skusa Winter Series opener, but he was at least towards the top half of the group that just missed the cut line following final practice. His first couple laps will end up okay, but not nearly as good as some of the drivers around him. Barry still fastest. Mateo Calderon in the 799. Up to second, Clayton Stiles, Isaac Payne. Samet there in the 775, hanging it on the edge of the racetrack. Everybody's right up to that last dip where the curve ends at turn number 5. You can see some sparks even flying as the left rear goes off the edge, but they're pushing. And as much as we've been driving on this racetrack trying to bring the temp up, it is still relatively low and low in grip and low in heat. And it's gotten a little lighter here and there, Caleb, but I can't say that I can see a whole lot of change in the track surface from where we were earlier to start the day.
Yeah, both of us, I would say, have maybe a little bit of experience here in these mixed conditions, but this track usually it's easier to dry off, obviously, when the sun is out. But with the humidity, like David mentioned, in the air was something that again, it's going to be the struggle to kind of get this to dry. Yesterday as well was interesting to hear on a racetrack that was pretty much throughout part of the day overstuck from what I was hearing, and maybe even some drivers as well, after speaking with Jesus Vasquez Jr., talking about that the racetrack just reaching over the point where it kind of greased over, right? So it was just very challenging. The track evolution has been one of the biggest, I think, topics that I've heard about this weekend, Xander, especially with again, this is the first time that a lot of people are racing in the heat here, and with this much humidity, really.
Yeah, the humidity is probably a big factor too, right? There's so much water in the air that without a whole lot of heat, without a lot of sun to bake it off and everything, it's going to keep this surface pretty damp for quite some time, no matter how much we drive on it. So what you learn right now in this qualifying session might still transfer even for these X30 juniors. I think anybody up until the lunch break cutoff, which is going to end with the Pro X30 pre-final, is probably still going to be valuable intel of how you take apart your qualifying session, go back, scrub over the onboard video, scrub over the data, and try to find a better way around for when you go and race on it, and what you can learn of navigating through the pack. Marco Samet here with a big lap at the end of this first group. That'll punch him up the board. Mason Berry second, and I'll stand corrected here. Maxwell Mancha, while we didn't see him in the Skusa Winter Series in January, that's why he wasn't making any noise. He wasn't here. It was only Enzo De Janeiro for the Parolin crew in junior. He's going to put them third in this group. Fast and Wyatt, another Houston, Texas local here who calls Speedsportz home. Fourth, Mateo Calderon fifth, Stiles, Payne. On down to Pasha Ali there in eighth. Iker Moreno, Lucas Bertagna, your provisional top 10. Lap time to beat, a 65.776 in the 3 plate for Ashton Woon. fastest from yesterday. Here's a look at the conditions right now. Again, the mist still coming down intermittently, just shy of 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside, just shy of 20 degrees Celsius. Only 69 degrees on the track. Surface temp just 3 to 4 degrees higher than what we're seeing on the air temp. And again, the wind as well at around 7 to 10 miles an hour. That'll probably stay throughout most of the day to continue to play a factor on the main backstretch, the front stretch. There's so many straightaways here that kind of punch a hole in every different direction that one area or another that's heavily dependent on draft is probably going to see a headwind, and that's good for us from an entertainment perspective. That's going to make a 3/10 swing in the draft or not. And of course the wind going to blow all that dry leaves, debris, and grass, because again, the rain, while it's slicking the racetrack off and certainly dampened the off-track areas, it's nothing like the lakes we saw around this place when you were back here with me, Caleb, at the end of January. So all of that stuff's just going to continue to get blown back onto the surface whenever the track goes cold for a moment or two.
And I got to tell you, I think one of the biggest things that surprised me today is I had no idea temperature went down to the decimal. That's something new for me. Never knew that was a thing. I guess something cool to learn. I know David Land is down there, I guess, busy taking the track temps for our guys here. But nonetheless, that is surprising to me. But for these drivers, again, getting down on the decimal here with their lap times.
All the way to the 1,000th mark was the difference of multiple classes in the dry conditions for about the top 5. It was really, really close. It's now as close as we've seen it in the wet conditions thus far today. I'm sure part of that's benefiting from a lot of these drivers pulling double duty and already having some track knowledge from the KA Junior qualifying session on these Synokco wets. Travis Pettit on his first lap, only a half-tenth better than Marco Samet, but that much better at the beginning of the session versus the slow group or the first group's opening couple of laps is telling that we're going to go a whole lot faster. Maybe we're back on the trend of picking up speed. Here's Leo De Silva looking for a pass to the inside of the Orsillo number 725 that he's working on, and he's going to potentially bring one of the SCR machines. I think that's June Thermal Laswamy. No, that's the 727 Thermal Laswamy, the 790.
So Steinbrook there was a driver that Leo De Silva was looking to get by for position, and he was. So he's now ahead of him, and it looks like, again, one of the Speed Concepts Racing just right behind him. As Pettit, Woon, gonna trade spots here, and Pettit gonna be the one out in front now. And again, Travis has that experience already in KA Junior, right? For some of these drivers, this is the first time that they're hitting the track. Ashton Woon, I believe, one of the ones that we don't see in KA Junior exclusively for the X30 Junior class. So this is the first time that he's really seen the racetrack here so far today. For Pettit, already been there, already had, double, almost triple the track, double the track time, if you will, that Ashton Woon has had so far throughout the weekend. So again, another advantage for Pettit and the like for other drivers kind of doing double duty here this weekend.
And he was the first one out, so he didn't really know where, if any, little nuances Travis Pettit might have picked up. Now he's getting a first-class view of it since Travis has gone past him, but already Pettit has put a gap on him, and that'll make it tougher to learn the further he gets away. Pettit now down to the 1-minute 4-second bracket. Nico Katowski with a great effort in KA Junior qualifying up to third. Arthur Barr was the driver on the SCR machine. He's jumped up into the top 5. De Silva is 5th. Woon is 6th currently, which is still more than good enough to fight from in the pre-final. But obviously by the delta in times, he's got a lot to learn. Travis Pettit, a huge gap at the end of their second true lap around the circuit. This will be borderline if they get to the timing loop before Aaron Likens throws the checkers. No, this will be it. So this is the last lap, and already Eli Steinbrook's going to lose his opportunity getting past there at turns 8 and 9. But our provisional pole man digging for more. Can he find any more speed to bolster the cushion? Further back, there's Arthur Barb, Steinbrook, and De Silva. They're still trading blows all the way to the last couple turns. So you can throw their qualifying third lap away. What does Pettit do at the line? Does he go better? Let's see it at the loop. He'll pick up 2 tenths. Woon will pick up a few. So will Katowski. They'll leapfrog that trio to go to second and third. Any other movers from further back? Tristan Murphy gets a good lap there. He'll go to the top 10. And And Valentino Santi will be the final driver to shake things up in the top 10, just barely getting into that spot in 10th. Mason Berry out of that first group, still holding strong at 11. Marco Samet solid as well into 8th. Tristan Murphy 7th, splitting him up, but Samet from the first group on track, staying in the top 10, boding well for him and the BJR crew, knowing as well that the surface certainly picked up some more grip with another batch of karts taken to it before the fast group went out. So now a 104.6. How much faster can we expect the big dogs to go? Pro X30 currently on the grid, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them down in the 102s. First group for them will head to the racetrack momentarily, of course, split into 25 and counting in terms of the total number there. It's pretty extensive for the Pro X30s as well. Scale line rolling furiously for X30 Junior. We'll have to wait a moment here for Travis Pettit. There you can see him rolling up as one of the first few to get across the line. Huge statement. And it was a huge statement in speed a month ago too, Caleb. He felt like he probably could have swept all 4 mains. And it felt like in every single way there was to unfortunately lose a main after a dominant day. He ended up on the wrong side of it, but he was finally able to get a big one at the end of it. He's still well in the championship conversation for both divisions, KA Junior and X30 Junior. This 10-point bonus in qualifying certainly going to help his chances. I know at the end of last summer for Travis Pettit, as he looked towards 2026 as kind of the banner year, his big opportunity year to set the world on fire in the junior classes. Still one of the younger drivers on the grid, but he's without a doubt one that should be a contender and a favorite this year as he was last year. But last summer he was oh so close to getting a couple of those #1 plates in the major championships. He ended up just shy of it in the Pro Tour. That's why he's still sporting that 29. But now he'll be starting for position #1 on the grid for X30 Junior in the pre-final. Let's send it on to you, Dave, and let's hear from him.
Yeah, sure. Travis Pettit, pole sitter here. Really tricky conditions, though. Talk about those.
Yeah, I mean, the track's definitely getting drier. I mean, from the first session, I mean, there's no puddles. Hopefully for the final, it'll be dry, but, you know, hopefully it's dry.
Well, I think everybody's hoping that, but sometimes hope doesn't do much in racing. Travis Pettit on the pole. We got karts on the racetrack.
There you go. Hoping for maybe a dry racetrack. He's fast in that, but he's equally fast here in the wet. Pro X30 now out with the first group as they roll towards the buckle. And we're waiting for the first few karts to ID him. Here's Keegan Kaminsky working his way around in the 334 Norberg Karting Academy GFC.
Here we go. Saw Kaminsky a couple of weeks ago over at K1 Circuit as well, where the first round of the Champions of the Future America Series kicked off. The likes of Sergey Kermaselli out there as well, who had a breakthrough weekend on the national scene, ending 3rd behind rookie Eric Doan, and as well for Jake Drew, who was the winner that weekend for the opening round of the Pro X30 Championship there. And Kermaselli, interesting story for him as well, right? Only kind of the start of his second year, only has a year of racing experience here. Started at a local K1 Speed indoor circuit, and Kermaselli jumped in with the Sharks, right? X30, I believe this is his third weekend. The first weekend was the first round of the Winter Series, and then his second weekend was over at Champions of the Future, and then here, this weekend, he's going to make his third really full weekend under the package, so something new for Sergey, and he was the biggest mover as well at round #2. So Sergey going to look for a little bit more here as he looks to have a little bit of better qualifying, better lap times, if you will, than he had in the pre-final. Eric Doan as well, impressive out in California just a couple of weeks ago, and he was one of the drivers that put 4 tires into the red paint there in the double rights to try and improve track position here in the qualifying session. Just has to be careful. Was the opening lap, but again, officials are going to be watching closely here as fast lap times will be deleted here, Xander.
Yeah, you have to be mindful of it. If you do it on your opening lap and then you lose your fast lap, oh no, problems for Kaminsky.
I think he's just getting out of the way here. He was frustrated with,
I hope so,
I think Silvera. They were just kind of beating him up, and I think he might have an issue here, Xander.
Yeah, there is something way wrong on that Norberg Academy GFC for Keegan Kaminsky. It almost looked like the motor shut off the contact, and look at this here for the 379 at Tiziano Rosso Horcel. He ended up in the grass and then makes a pass through the corner following Eric Doan. A batch of young guns right there in this pack, or a batch of newbies all the way to Levi Sangera, who enters his second full season in the category on the Nash Motorsport blue and black car. So first laps at speed across the line. Dale Silvera for the Pfaff Kart Sport crew initially on top. Austin Perrin with a decent opening lap as well. Obviously these drivers didn't really get much of substance shuffling amongst themselves, but Dale Silvera, the Pfaff Kart Sport crew, hanging around in Houston for one more weekend. I hope we get to see more of that. Some of the Canadian teams, the newly announced partnership between Rotax USA and Superkarts USA. The RMC America's Trophy Series going to be the prelim or intro weekend to a 2-week stint at the opening 2 Skusa Pro Tour rounds. So we'll be there for that. We actually haven't announced it quite yet, but I'll announce it here now. We'll be in Tucson for the RMC America's Trophy opening weekend, and then right afterwards to kick off the Superkarts USA Pro Tour with the Winter Nationals as well. And then the RMC US Trophy Final following the Summer Nats. So hopefully that, like the winter stretch, will inspire more and more of our friends from up north used to the Rotax packages to come and compete in X30. Silvera, good on this group. Not good enough for fastest. Eric Doan, quickest. Big lap out of Eric. The rookie sensation, top 10 at the opening weekend. A near win, a podium at the Code of America's series. And David, we have some intel from you as well. What is going on down on the grid as we await the fast group ready to roll here from Speedsportz?
Yeah, you guys were curious about what happened to Keegan Kaminsky, and it's a flat right front tire. Nothing to do with the engine. It's a flat right front tire that took him out of qualifying.
Thank you, Dave. Unfortunate for Keegan Kaminsky. He noticed that obviously pretty quickly early on in that session, bailed out of the way, tried not to impede, and he won. Kudos to him, but that's going to be an uphill battle for sure for the young driver aboard that GFC machine from the tail end of a stacked grid of Pro X30 competitors. We got a new face joining us. Welcome for your first American start, Sean Butcher, a highly decorated driver from the United Kingdom, ready to roll alongside his teammate, who's also, of course, made his trip across the pond many times, Gus Lawrence. Sean taking his time leaving off the grid. Gus, on the other hand, second out, following Aiden Ingrata, who always seems to be fast when we're here in Houston, and he was mighty quick at the back-to-back weekends of the Winter Trophy as well. He's been a factor at all 3 race weekends thus far. No surprise that he was one of the quickest on Friday afternoon, but I was taken aback, Caleb, talking to some of the drivers about the track this weekend, that it feels probably a bit more normal than how we were in January. It seems like a base level of grip was there, and the time showed it, that everyone off the back of learning the circuit, maybe some drivers on new material like Oliver Hodgson, who obviously took to it really well in that opening weekend, getting a main event win to kick off 2026. But the lap times amongst the top 10 are even closer when you look back at practice results than what the time showed, because the draft seemed to be about a 3/10 swing, and the whole top 10 was separated by about 3/10. I think we're in store for a barn burner main, wet or dry. We'll see how close the times are here in the wet, but potentially even more of the action that we saw to close out the weekend on Sunday, where it was a 6-car dogfight for the main event win.
You'll have a lot of that, right? You're not seeing the same numbers that you maybe see at the Pro Tour, given it's, quote unquote, the preseason, but still the quality of field, the level of this field is very, very strong. Let's talk about Ingrata, right? You talk about Gus Lawrence and other drivers that joined the field here this weekend that are just kind of raised the strength of it as well. So it's really, imperative for a lot of these drivers to kind of find some time and find it wherever they can. Alex Vanchev, again, learning experience, right? Super Nights, talk about round 1 and 2 as well, coming back here to round number 3 and 4. What did you learn in those first couple of rounds to apply here on your 3rd full weekend as a senior racing driver?
Spoke to him briefly yesterday, and for Alex Vanchev, he was like, yeah, you can only count so much of what you learn from Super Nats, being that it's a truly event that's in its own kind of world almost. So he counted last month as a true rookie debut weekend. This month here, he's doubled up for double the track time and double the opportunity to run at the front of the field in both KA Senior and Pro X30. but the lessons that he learned from last month, again, the differences, the nuances in the racing, and ultimately just that you cannot afford a single mistake. He's been able to overcome some massive gaps early in sessions and still end up with the win. When you look back at his banner year last year in X30 Junior, he was the driver to beat, hands down, by the time we got to the summer stretch. It was all about Alexander Vanchev, but he's one of many drivers. You got to think of all of the talent that's at the front of this field. Every single one of them is a winner or a champion, not just in the junior ranks, but in their home countries or in the likes of Oliver Hodgson in global events. The Rotax Grand Finals winner, multi-time, now Team USA member, as well as where he grew up in the UK, Team UK member, and an Miami International Final champion as well. And now, for the first time in nearly a decade, his livery, his suit, completely different after a lengthy partnership with Kart. The partnership between that brand and Factory Kart for this year has him on the red and black machine. And it's a red and white machine that's right behind him that's just gone quickest. Diego Ramos, who has been unreal in the wet. No surprise there, Caleb. 103.97. He's not up by a lot, but he is on top as things stand.
Yeah, it's got to be muscle memory for Diego Ramos at this point. And as well, when you look back to last year, as well, when we were at Newcastle, whenever, again, those little bursts of rain kind of kicked off throughout those main events. Diego Ramos won a couple of those, I believe, one, if not two, main events in wet weather conditions. So, again, Ramos is a driver that's good in these conditions, and you're seeing it there, right? Going in on Gus Lawrence. You talk about, you know, getting in the gym, adding a little bit of weight as well for Diego Ramos. That's definitely going to help here.
Well, he's muscling the machine. Ultimately, this last lap's going to hurt his chances for pole. It hurt Hodgson, though, as well, as they all kind of got tripped up. So the pressure's on Aiden Ingrata. He will not get there to dethrone Ramos. Only gets to within a tenth. That group doesn't improve. To the line for the checkers here. The last couple crossing the loop now. And nobody's going to have, I think, a real answer. Let's see if anyone deep in the pack like Butcher or Vasquez will. They will not. It will be the Brazilian on top in qualifying. Diego Ramos, your fastest in Pro X30. Oliver Hodgson second, Ingrata third, and an RPG trio led by the youngster Alexander Vanchev ahead of Sean Butcher and Gus Lawrence. Dono Bonilla, Davin Roberts, Max Weiland, and Buddy J. Jesus Vasquez Jr., your top 10. A few big names further back, though. Blake Nash, front runner, fastest in the dry at round number 2, 13th, and round 2 winner, Paulie Massimino, 15th. Work to be done for the BJR crew to get him towards the front of the field. His teammate James Overbeck down in 20th, splitting Karamselli and Keegan Kaminsky, who were out in that first group. But again, most notably, not only with Kaminsky a flat tire out, but starting tail end of the field, Jacob Kolar, his debut on the Bennett Kart, the full-size chassis that Chase Gassie at Lee debuted nationally last month here for the opening weekend. Now gets paired up with the kid from Key West, the IAME USA Grand Champion, Jacob Kolar. Unable to make it out for qualifying. Did not have the tech sheet ready. He'll start tail end on a fresh set of Avinco wets for the pre-final if it stays wet. But we're starting to see the skies lighten a bit. Maybe that's a good sign for the track to be drying up as your IAME USA West K Masters head on out. And Brian Boley leads the charge. The championship points later was sensational on both days of action in January. One of the younger drivers of the Masters contingent. He's had a couple of K Masters starts, none as successful though as what it was for the newly relocated Texan, moved to Austin, Texas just recently after growing up first up in the Northwest, then living in North Carolina. He's now only a couple hours away, and I wouldn't say he's got local knowledge yet. He's only just moved here, but he looked like he had it last month.
Yeah, definitely so there for Brian Boley. A couple of others. Trevor McAllister making a start here this weekend as well. Miguel Mir, one of the drivers that you're used to seeing, especially here in wet conditions. Paul Montopoli, another one that we saw at the opening weekend. Brent Harper on the wrenches for him this weekend as well. And Harper, another driver who's not joining us here this week, but is has had success here in the rain, putting it on the podium last year at the Texas Sprint Racing Series. First lap underway. And again, this Masters field pretty healthy. 17 drivers total joining us here for the second round out of Mark Caligaro. One of the additions in the 404. Piepenbrock there as well in the 484. But this field has grown. David Land standing by with Diego Ramos.
Yeah, Diego, super tough conditions, but you thrive in these. So just kind of talk about that qualifying session.
Yeah, we didn't have amazing warm-up, but we did some change for quali and then just work out.
With the conditions as they are right now, I mean, we've talked so much about track progression, and you know, still it's pretty damp out there. Is it changing at all? Is it drying at all?
I mean, it's drying, but like it started to get like the condition that you just slide around, you know, like that if it's more water, you have more grip, you know, like, but we see. It should be really tough for the pre-final. I don't know if it's going to be fully dry, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be dry tires.
Okay, so there you go. Diego Ramos thinks he's going to be on dries by the time they go racing. Let's find out.
So, as we continue here with KA Master qualifying, about halfway into their 5-minute window, one full group for them. And for Brian Boley and the rest of the field, equally looking at the lap times here, it's a little better than the KA juniors so far. It's a little bit off the KA seniors. It doesn't really bode for a drying circuit just yet. Visually, again, it is a little bit lighter in parts, but far from it. It would probably need to get down to the low 1-minute times, I think, for us to start seeing those wet tires be the less competitive option to the Avinco blues or reds, the slicks, and be that crossover period. It's more or less around the 8 to 10 second delta from where they are on the dry times. Well, for Brian Boley right now on wet tires, huge lap there, down to 107.1. Here's Miguel Mir on the Orsilon Tony Kart. He'll jump to third as he gets past that group, but he is still way off the likes of Boley. How about Danny Howie? Up to second here. And for a regional level driver that hasn't made hardly probably single-digit national level starts at all, the High Five Performance Cosmic is up to second, knocking on the door of closing that gap to Boley, who's still, again, quickest by a lot.
Yeah, definitely a good showing out of Howie here to start things off as he's looking to get by on Trevor McAllister. Currently sits sixth here. So out there, it's a good way to take turn number 9 there for Daniel Howie. Only 2 tires up on the curb. All good as they're still going side by side, but again, closing that gap down just that little bit too soon in the infield section of the buckle. Checkered flag will fly here momentarily as Howie now tries to go by. Boley crosses now. Here comes Howie, here comes Mir, here comes the rest of the group. Checkered flag flies. Can anybody improve? Can Howie go better? And he can't. Mir didn't improve at all either. Montopoli doesn't. Falcone, only Caligaro up to 10th. And Brian Boley on the pole position here on the Saturday in Masters.
Mario Barrios, late lap there for Mario. He'll jump up to second and make it an RPG lockout of the front row. But just as we ended in January, Brian Boley on top in the 100cc Master Class over Danny Howie, Miguel Mir, Paul Montopoli. 17 in total, no lap times, unfortunately, for Jose Eduardo de la Garza Elizondo, but all 17 we'll hopefully see on the grid for the pre-final. It'll be the first class after the lunch break, though. Pro X30, K Master, X30 Junior, and the likes, all wrapped and dusted. We're back with more.
Miami USA West, is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
So the first group of 2 for Mini Swift in our 7th of 8 classes to qualify for round number 3 now takes to the racetrack. Mace Lezek, Marcelo Flores, Aiden Go, a new entry for this month. Batista Pugliese Bassi, Connor Lipka, and more. In total, just like the Microswift class, picking up a couple of names as we get into the thick of their qualifying session for the second weekend.
As here we go, Moraviec there trying to move into the boot to try and get by and kind of reposition himself there on what looked to be Pugliese Bassi there, who's just ahead of him. Liam Francisco right behind that group. And Francisco, again, another one of the rookies is Mace Lasek in the 104 for Iron Rock Motorsports with issues. And he's pulled off just on the side of the front stretch with something gone amiss there. Looked like he got out, looked to check something. But I think that's going to conclude his session as he was up and out of the cart. Moraviec there, hand in the air as well. So you just got to hope, right, that these drivers aren't plagued with issues here. Moraviec looks okay, just had the hand in the air like he was slowing down. Just right behind Aiden Go. But Go, a great performance for him. Last time we saw him on our platform over at the Super Nationals in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Go looking to and pick up right where he left off at the end of 2025 as he's leading this second group.
Looked like a chain came off there, is a report that we're hearing. Marcelo Flores, big lap for him at a 109.5. Marshall Steves moving up the board. The High Five crew, they have come to play. The Oklahoma-based operation with their satellite group here in Texas as well. Up to second. Marcelo Flores, though, light years above the pack as things run in the 112. Here's a look at Aiden Go and the 175 and Ty Morweck. That's about as wide as this track will ever get, Caleb. End-to-end, white line to white line from the high side of the low. So look at this. I mean, this is the kind of racing that this intermediate track condition provides. I know the drivers are wanting to dry out and get to what they know and what they're comfortable with the dry track, but I would not be upset at all if we end up with pre-final action on a surface that is exactly like this all the way through the lunch break, Caleb.
Yeah, and it'll definitely, you know, make it interesting. They're really making it look easy, especially for these young drivers, but it's really not, right? You see how much input they're on the steering wheel, just on the edge of the racetrack, maybe even dipping a tire at points, just going over the edge. But just a lot of skill for these young drivers to kind of keep it there. And again, the level of racing, if we do see this kind of halfway point, this kind of medium intermediate surface, like you said, it's going to provide some really, really good racing action. And again, weather is expected throughout the day. It's supposed to be in the afternoon, Xander, so I really think the pre-finals should look a lot like this, if not maybe even dry like Diego Ramos suspected.
So while the battling continues here, you can see Marcelo Flores on the other half of the section out of turn number 7 while this group's going into it. We're having fun watching them all trade positions, but it's not boding well for the lap times in qualifying. They're certainly learning a lot of what they can do and can't do and what passes may stick for later if the track is the same. But again, these drivers in the Mini Swift class presented by Perezzino Chassis Jig will be on the post-lunch break part of the schedule, because again, the lunch hits kind of right at the middle point of our pre-finals. We'll get 5 of races in, then have the break, and then come back with 3 more before we go straight into main events here for round number 3, and the same for tomorrow as well. So the end of the first group of 2 for our second to last qualifying session. At the line, Marcelo Flores' 109.4 is going to last almost the entirety of the session, a second clear on the field. A good lap there on Liam Francisco will bring it to just shy of that at 9.5 tenths. Ty Morweck, Marshall Steves, Caden Ladera. That's your top 5 from our first batch. But the second group, in total, 29 drivers for Mini Swift. Ready to roll. Mason Brody for Ryan Perry Motorsport had a spectacular run in what was probably the most entertaining batch of race sessions in quite a while, Caleb. Vegas always provides us with a ton of entertainment. There's no question about that with the Super Nationals. But the Mini Swift class is known for having these last lap multi-driver battle packs for the lead and the race win. I don't know if there was any better display of the entertainment value of watching these young 8 to 12-year-olds go at it than what we saw for rounds 1 and 2. It was unreal, the level of racing and how many different moves and how many different names we thought at one point or another was going to get the win.
Yeah, and again, kind of similar to what we saw last year, right, in 2025. The Micro Swift class with a lot of drivers kind of aging out and moving through it, as well as graduating, if you will, the word you can use, graduating out of the Micro Swift class. The level of racing improved immensely at the end of the year. The Mini Swift class, this class specifically last year with the drivers now rookies in the junior class, they provided some great racing action. So now you have a little bit of a combination, right, of the drivers who still have a year or two left in the field with all these rookies that are hungry for championships, hungry for race wins. The level of competition has leveled up this year in Mini Swift, and we'll send it down here as well with David Land standing by.
Yeah, just wanted to talk about some of the track conditions and how we've talked about how this track really hasn't dried all that great. On the exit of turn 8 and 9, I've noticed this. There's 3 distinct puddles on the straightaway there, and we've been here, boys, as you know, since early in the morning, and those puddles really haven't evaporated whatsoever. So that kind of should tell you how slow the evaporation process is of this surface. And I can tell you, any of the karts that are coming onto the pit lane right now, including Pro Shifter, still on the wet tires. So for the foreseeable future, we're going to see karts hitting this track on wets.
And I think Dave is right. Again, ultimately, you know, we're just not seeing those dry patches form, even as much as the temps have slowly crept up. I mean, it's not been that cold of a morning. It's only cold in comparison to the heat that we're anticipating in the afternoon and what it got to yesterday in the upper 70s. But starting this morning in the mid-60s to high 60s, and then the track temp as well. I mean, it was right there with it. It wasn't overly hot by any means, but it's far from what you would think 2 full rounds through the 8-class rotation, and in the case of qualifying, nearly 16 total groups, only K Master and Pro Shifter as a single group for quali, so 14 batches of qualifying sessions following 8 full warm-ups. It's not like a lot of drivers sat out in those warm-up sessions either, and yet here we are closing to the end of the qualifying rotation, still using the Iveco wet tires. Let's go back. Working our way with the final couple moments here for the fast group, though. How about first lap and a half, if you will, kind of call it, in the books. First true lap, because again, they count that first lap on the timing board because they cross the timing loop straight out of the pit lane. But they've got 2 laps shown. That means they've got 1 lap at speed coming out of the boot. So this is our first bit of read. Jake Manolio fastest, Dutch Westbrook second. Flores from the first group still in third. Then it's Stoffel, Tarango, Mason Brody, who we were following along and was one of the first ones out of the pits. There he is in the 109, he's 6th. Lorenzo Lopez on the CRG 7th, Salazar, Yusuf Adi, and then Liam Francisco from that first group as well, still in the top 10. All on wet tires in Mini Swift, although I'm sure there's going to be, at some point, someone willing to take the gamble, whether it's in the Pro Shifter quali or coming up in the pre-finals, to take that risk, take that leap of faith, and go to the slick tires. For now, all wet and all Jake Manolio by 2/10. Here's our second lap at speed. Let's see what they do to the line. Dutch Westbrook, the first one here, Caleb.
Yeah, Dutch Westbrook there across the line, puts it at about 2/10, but no improvement out of him there on that second lap. Manolio as well just kind of holds on there.
I don't think Dutch even registered when he hit the loop there, Caleb. I think the transponder didn't catch him. He's still showing only 2 laps completed, or if so, again, it was a late delivery. No, it just wasn't faster. So only on lap 2 for Dutch. Transponder good. David, what do you have for us here as the checker is going to be headed this time in Mini Swift?
Yeah, I've got Ashton Hinkle down here, and he is on the slick tires. So I'm going to ask you, you're the first one to try this. What are we thinking here?
We're playing the long run, trying to save our wets, just hoping we can, save quality and play the long game here.
So there you go. I mean, we'll see if this is a gamble, and if it pays off, I think you're going to see a lot of folks on these slick tires coming up.
Again, in his case, he's going to be a good test of it, right? But he's far from thinking of competitiveness in qualifying. He's thinking of trying to have the freshest batch of rains that he can for the race sessions later if we do get more rain. Interesting strategy call. Here we are to the end in Mini Swift, though, all on the wets. Westbrook did go a little better, but so did Manalio still, and he'll hold it to the end. A 109 flat for Jake Manalio, fastest in qualifying for Mini Swift. Dutch Westbrook second, Marcelo Flores third, Mason Brody fourth, Lucas Tarango fifth. Look at the RPM Nitro Karts, 4 in the top 10.
Yeah, great session out of the Ryan Perry Motorsports crew for the Nitro Karts, getting themselves 3 of them into or 4 of them really into the top 10 with Brody Stoffel, the last one there. Lorenzo Lopez only 11, Salazar Ahmad, Tavares, and more. And again, we heard from Henkel there, and you got to think about the tire warm-up as well, right? Getting those tires, getting those Avinco Reds in the right window whenever you get going. And in the pre-final as well, got to think about another conversation that has been had throughout many times in a pre-final where we're expecting it to be kind of this intermediate or maybe even dry. For these drivers, right, is maybe a scrub set of wet tires better than a sticker set that Henkel would have?
Maybe, but if you burn those wets up, the scuff is a wide range cover in the term, right? Yeah, that's as close as you can get to an intermediate tire, but you go out on wet tires on 2-driver racetrack and they're going to be useless. Overly soft slicks that'll have not much tread left on them, period. And it only takes a couple of laps on the gauge to guess right or wrong. I don't think any of these ones are going to have that issue, and like you said, if we end up on an intermediate racetrack and they've got scuffs on, it might be to the benefit of them. But on a wet racetrack, starting on their new sets of wets, they're going to be slipping. They'll be sliding a bit, we have to imagine. We'll see them at it when we return. Pro Shifter on the other side of this break here for qualifying.
2026 Cup Kart South Series, February 20th through 22nd at Finish Line Karting. March 20th through 22nd at Daytona International Speedway. April 24th through 26th at Music City Karting. And May 29th through 31st at Bushnell Motorsports Park.
Macro Motorsports builds champions every day, drivers who won on the world stage. The Tillotson T4 Series is pure spec racing. Same engine, same chassis. When you win, it's because you were the best that day. Your edge is not the kart, it's the setup, the strategy, and the race team. With our Arrive and Drive program, you simply bring your gear, we provide the equipment and the championship winning support to every event. Stop wrenching, start racing. Your path to the T4 Nations Cup in Spain starts with us. For more information, contact us at macromotorsports.net.
Welcome back to qualifying. Pro Shifter underway, presented by PSL Karting. Mateus Morgado is the most notable new entry for finale weekend. He was here in Houston for rounds 1 and 2, doing some driver coaching for Velocity Racing, and then used their home base at Orlando Kart Center for a lot of R&D on the package in January, and they flipped his schedule here for February to race in the Skusa Winter Series and stay off track for some extra coaching at the Winter Tour, kind of inverted it. They're focused again on all the development they can. And talking with Mateus, you know, he mentioned how even for a driver of his caliber, Skusa Pro Tour champ, Winter Series champ, vice champ in KZ2, World Cup competition. It's John Melchiori with a spin in the buckle. That Mateus, having not had that much seat time over the offseason, he was still kind of getting back into a rhythm and getting his body back to grips with what it's like to manhandle one of these 6-speed, 40-plus horsepower beasts through this week. Now, the wet conditions make it a little bit easier on the body, going a little slower through the corners and all that, but still, again, getting the hand-eye coordination and really the brain message to the rest of your body of what to do when takes a bit. For Billy Musgrave, Gavin Bailiff, Jay Irwin, they were here last month. They weren't in the wet, although Billy definitely got a lot of wet experience in the DD2 chassis competing at the Rotax Winter Trophy, where those two did not. He's got the most laps at this place over the last 7 weeks than any of them. And he's sporting the #1 plate. It was cool to see the smile on his face when I asked him what it felt like to rock up to the racetrack with that this year. He said, man, it's a huge, huge piece of pride for him. So as the qualifying session continues here, and they begin their first laps at speed across the line, here's Jay Irwin, the New Zealander. He had an engine issue. Spoke with his father a little bit on practice day that hurt his chances at round number 2, and it was something, it appeared to be, that was off for the Kiwi kid, because he was lights out on Saturday, Caleb. Nobody could touch the #6.
Yeah, Jay Irwin was very, very competitive on the Saturday, and Sunday you just kind of didn't see the same out of him, right? So unlike Jay Irwin, especially here at Speedsportz Racing Park, where he's had a good number of top 5 finishes, Billy Musgrave, though, into the pits already. And again, he is fastest. That's a 1:05.45. Everybody else looking for a little bit more, but Billy Musgrave into the pits, only 2 laps into this qualifying session here, Xander.
Yeah, there is something wrong for sure with that #1 machine. He did do a good lap, so maybe he's happy enough with it. He kind of went a little wide and blew the corner at turn 5. 1:05 for Musgrave. Morgato's second right now. Irwin third, White fourth, Bailiff fifth. Billy Musgrave top of the pylon as things stand.
As Ardiles now the rookie up to 6th with a couple of more movers. Lucas DeLongchamp, who had a weekend to forget at rounds 1 and 2. Now puts himself inside of the top 10. Cooper Becklin right there in 8th. Vincent Cassard, Noah Zarsk, Corey Bull, Gautier in 13th, and Yayo Ramirez down in 14th for the Rawson Performance Group here this weekend, as Irwin still looking for a little bit more. 4/10 is the gap in between himself and Billy Musgrave. Bailiff, another one of the Burrells who's inside of the top 5, but checkered flag will fly this time by here, Xander, and Billy Musgrave still holding on.
Maybe it was just a good enough lap. Let's see it to the line. Morgado can't beat him. Irwin to the checkers. Nothing there. Nothing for Justin White. And here comes Gavin Bailiff back in 5th, trying to find something over a second off of Musgrave. That was a heater, and David is standing by with the man who did the lap and pulled in right after, watching it from the scale line. Top of the board for Billy Musgrave.
A sly like a fox. Now, come on, Billy. How did you know?
Oh, I still got a few tricks up these sleeves in my old age.
I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, you had us all convinced something was wrong, and you end up on the pole. I mean, how did you know the lap was that good?
I mean, when you can close in on Mateus in a wet condition on a rain, I know that's going to be good. So, yeah, I mean, I knew I had a plan. I know for the final today, it looks like the rain's going to come back in. So I'm not going to say I was totally convinced I was going to put it on pole. But I was more kind of, hey, if I could hit top 2, top 3, I really want to make sure these tires are decent in case the skies open up later today. I still got some rubber left.
These track conditions are so tricky. Kind of describe those for the people at home.
This is honestly the worst condition to try to drive in. It's like, for me, if it's going to rain, like, let's just rain, and then we can put a rain setup on the car and do what we need to do. I mean, it was so in between. On the grid, I'm standing there with my mechanic, Dave, and I'm like, man, I want to go slick so bad. If I wasn't in a championship right now, I'd have slicks on the car 100%. So now we just kind of played it safe and, yeah, put the lap together really nicely there. Yeah, the tires I had on in warm-up this morning were pretty old and haggard. So, yeah, the fresh rubber was nice, and honestly, didn't make a single setup change from final session yesterday to right now in quali. So
played it safe and went P1. All right, well, we'll see what happens with Billy Musgrave later, whether the skies open up or whether they don't.
Thank you.
There you have it. Billy Musgrave A sly smile there. He knew it was a good one, and it puts him on pole for the pre-final. 10 bonus points added. Mind you, for the championship of the Skusa Winter Series, folks, we'll have the live points rolling throughout the weekend. You do get one drop round of the 4, so today will be somewhat of an overall read, but it'll paint scenarios for tomorrow. Musgrave had a mechanical at one of the opening rounds of the weekend, at round number 1's main event, so he needs to perform today and tomorrow. That 10-point bonus is going to get counted no matter how good or bad really today probably pans out. However, Jay Irwin and Gavin Bailiff, 2 good opening rounds. They can burn one if they need to, and if they do, it makes it all to play for and all the pressure on Sunday. They'll both roll from the inside lane. Row 2 for Irwin, row 3 for Bailiff, joined by Justin White, Diego Ardiles, Lucas DeLongchamp, John Melifiore, Noah Zars, Vincent Cassard, and onward through your 15 for Pro Shifter. But that's it for qualifying. We're ready to go racing on the other side of this break here from Houston. For Caleb Viesca, myself, Xander Clons, hope you get to watch and join us for KC Premium members exclusive action. Otherwise, we'll see you again tomorrow morning at the end of the day as well with post-race coverage. So yeah, K.A. Jr., pre-final action on the way.
Motorsport is reinventing itself, and our mission is to accelerate this transformation so that it becomes even more efficient, cleaner, more spectacular, and more sustainable. Welcome to the next generation of motorsport. TotalEnergies and Peugeot co-developed the 9X8, an eco-responsible hybrid electric hypercar capable of outstanding performances.
Attention Superkarts USA drivers. Be sure to order your complete photo package from On Track Promotions.